Just 4 years ago, that Aston Martin DBX 707 behind me was the world's quickest production SUV. We didn't really need anything more, did we? Well, Lamborghini says otherwise. They just announced, as I'm sure you guys saw, the Urus SE Performante, the new kid on the block, the new king with the crown in this giant performance SUV category. Because these vehicles are so inherently heavy and much larger than their supercar counterparts, internal combustion engines can only take them so far. So that Performante has a plug-in hybrid system. What that does, of course, as you guys found out with the new M5, is add so much weight that potentially takes away feel when you begin pushing the car in the corners, right? To offset that weight, you then have to continuously add power and torque, which then adds more battery and adds more weight, which you then have to offset with more power and more torque. It's an endless game, an unwinnable game from where I'm standing. But at least for now, the DBX 707 is not playing that game. And that's because under the hood is a twin-turbo 4-liter V8 with no hybrid assistance. It makes 697 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque. I have a feeling it doesn't need a hybrid system. Yes, this one has aftermarket downpipes. That is no good. Oh, this is the first problem with buying the pre-facelift DBX, which I'm driving today. This one's heavily depreciated, and we'll get into values later in the video, but it's still using the Mercedes infotainment system and navigation, which requires either use of the touchpad down here or this scrolly wheel, which is just infuriating to use. So just know, if you want to spend the extra cash, which is a lot, you can get the updated DBX, which has solved that problem with Aston Martin's own touchscreen scenario going on in the center stack. I am so excited for this drive today for a few reasons. First off being, this is the first of these super SUVs that I've driven. I've never driven a Urus, so when I comment on it, keep that in mind. Nonetheless, this is a simple performance SUV when compared to that new SE and SE Performante, specifically because this DBX 707 is about 500 pounds lighter. 500 pounds lighter than that SE Performante. It's also about 500 pounds lighter than an M5 Touring. And that one was one you guys love to complain about. Let's see what we can do. We're gonna put it in Sport Plus. We're gonna try launch control. That'll prep the front axle to be ready to accept some of that 664 pound-feet of torque from the Mercedes Hot V 4-liter twin-turbo V8. Oh, we also have to turn traction control all the way off. Let's go. Hit the gas with our foot on the brake. Holy shit. That reaction there was, okay, a slight exaggeration, but not really. This thing, when it gets out of a dig, because it weighs so much, I was expecting it to be so incredibly composed. If the road you're on is not perfectly straight and perfectly flat, it kind of pulls to one side, pulls to the other. You can feel just how much both the traction control systems and that e-diff are working to put the power down. It's insane. I mean, yes, the turbos here are larger ball bearing turbos than you find in the base car. This has 155 more horsepower than the base DBX had when it was available. So yeah, there is a little bit of lag. It's not completely responsive, and I guess if you're comparing to those plug-in hybrid systems, that is a little bit of a sacrifice, especially around the city, around town. There is no EV only mode, and you're going to have to put up with that ridiculous sounding V8. This is the loudest SUV I've driven in my life. If I was a normal pedestrian, I would have called the cops so long ago. So ridiculous. Yes, this still weighs about 5,000 pounds. And yes, it is simpler in engineering compared to those complex hybrid systems, the plug-in hybrid systems. But this is still not a simple vehicle. It has air suspension. It's got, of course, adaptive dampers. That air suspension can raise and lower. In fact, in the drive mode settings here, it has a terrain mode, which is hilarious. I don't know who's taking their DBX 707 off-road, but it probably would do pretty well, especially because the 707 gets a Trick ELSD back there, a stronger limited slip differential than the base car, which is no longer available. And it's got a shorter final drive in the rear diff. So for the all-wheel drive system, which can send up to 100% of the torque to the rear wheels, that just means in-gear acceleration is going to be a little bit quicker, and especially off the line. It wanted to get sideways there so badly. That E-diff is doing real torque vectoring, splitting the torque, going right, going left. So in the middle of a corner, it's gonna try and send the torque to the outside wheel as much as possible and rotate the car. The torque is just giant. 2,000 RPM. And we have boost by 3. If you're a little bit higher, around 3,500, and then you hit it, I mean, they spool up so quickly. So you really just don't have to chase that 7,000 RPM red line if you don't want to. Oh my. It's more ridiculous than I expected it to be. It is. There's so much grip. It's got 325s in the back, I believe 285s up front. Oh, the power carries up top though. Holy. This air suspension is very clearly tuned for performance and track driving, making the car as planted and sticky as possible. It's comfortable. All of the big bumps are soaked up so well. It's just all the little stuff on the freeway and through the steering wheel and the seat. I'm feeling every little thing, and that's inescapable all the time. The uphill battle with all of these performance SUVs are, how do you extract some kind of driver feel, some kind of fun out of it, right? Because these are kind of an accessory to your supercar. This is an accessory to your Vantage or your DB12 or your Vanquish, right? Much in the same way the Urus is an accessory to your Aventador, Revuelto, or Temerario. But that special something, so to speak, I'm looking for comes from the drivetrain itself and just how it drives. So in combination with those adaptive dampers, this has a 48-volt system which controls the anti-roll bars to absolutely eliminate body roll. Okay, not absolutely. Pretty close though. I mean, this is amazing. Even in comfort mode, when they're kind of tuned to allow a little bit more roll, it's so planted. It does not feel like an SUV should be able to do what this does. Two things that stand out immediately with the 707 from a driving perspective that I love. First, the steering rack. It's got a much quicker steering rack than I would have expected. It is so dialed in and so sharp. Is there a ton of feel? No, we're battling 5,000 pounds. It gets heavier and it kind of ramps up as you get into the steering, but it's not as if we have that Vantage level of connection. I wasn't expecting that, but pretty impressive. The second is the seating position. Finally, after getting out of all these pedestrian SUVs that have you sat up artificially high, I feel like I'm sitting, no exaggeration, in a Vantage, in a sports car. I'm really low down in the chassis. I'm about 5'9", 5'10", and I've got a ton of headroom, but that's good. I'm not towering over the hood, and that makes me want to push the car just a little bit more. Let's talk about price. So right now, if you were to buy a DBX 707, which is the new base, it sits around $276,000 USD, okay? In the used market, you can get a DBX 707 with a few miles on it, maybe 10,000 miles, for $150,000 USD, 140 to 150 all day long. That same money will get you an early Urus, which, just like the Aston, shares its engine with the peasants in lower tier luxury models. The DBX, however, doesn't share a chassis with anyone. And to me, that will always take away something from the Urus, the Bentayga, whereas this, the DBX, is a bespoke chassis. And in the used market, to me, that actually means something. Over in Lamborghini land, the Urus is selling so many. I mean, that is the big moneymaker. That's what allows them to put all this research and development into the Temerario and the Revuelto, whereas here, Aston's not relying on the DBX to make money. Maybe they did initially, but it didn't work out. Last year, the DBX only sold about half what the traditional two-door GT supercars from Aston sold. So it is really rare to see one of these around, and that kind of also adds to its appeal, especially in the used market. The biggest hurdle all of these performance and luxury SUVs have to get over, at least initially, is how do they translate that supercar and luxury sedan design language into a much larger vehicle? Honestly, you guys, out of all the performance and luxury SUVs, the Cullinan, the Urus, okay, maybe not the Cayenne, they did a really good job in designing that, but they've been at it for 20 years. Out of all of these performance and luxury SUVs, I think the DBX has done it the best. The rear end basically comes from the Vantage. That's what that looks like to me. And it splits the rear end perfectly. When you look at the Cullinan, it's just a box. It's an enlarged Wraith or a Ghost, something like that, right? The Urus is, I don't even know what the Urus is. I do not enjoy looking at the Urus. I don't know what you guys think. I think they look a little bit comical to me. Speaking of comical, on the rear end of the 707, we get this massive carbon diffuser that actually sticks out further than the bumper. It has become the bumper, which is kind of funny. It's got to be doing some kind of aero and downforce. There's actually another little bit there with the diffuser. The 707 gets these quad tip exhaust pipes. I mean, just look at it. This is such a good looking SUV. It does have the sloped rear end, so the cargo space, while it is decent back there, you're sacrificing a little bit when compared to some of the competitors that are a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more normal, shall we say. This is a lot closer to that Urus Performante in its kind of ethos and what it's trying to achieve. High speed, high performance. 707 comes standard with giant carbon ceramic brakes. This one has been spec'd with the 23-inch wheels. These were optional at the time. Of course, the one I'm driving is a couple of years old. The base 550 horsepower DBX, which is no longer on sale, had a much slimmer grille, which didn't work as well design-wise. It made the DBX almost look just like a lifted Vantage. It didn't work as well. Here, we need something to fill the space, and this giant grille has done exactly that. And it's modern enough. It has soft closed doors, which is so good. It has these little touches like the pillarless doors, both front and rear, which is so cool. In fact, when you open the rear door, that's where I first noticed it, it's got a shock there that opens and closes the door versus like a mechanical door stay. So when you open the door just a little bit, it kind of pushes itself out, and then when you go to close it, it kind of pulls itself back in, and then of course the soft close does the rest of the work for you. So it's a very easy car to live with. I mean, the rest of the interior is phenomenal. The steering wheel's perfect, a bunch of physical buttons, giant blue carbon paddles, and like a Ferrari, they're attached actually to the steering column and not the steering wheel. This one's been spec'd with a ridiculous amount of blue carbon. I would actually spec this. I love the look of this. I'm not sure about the bright blue on the seats. The stitching with the Aston Martin logo, that's optional too. This one's been spec'd with that. And then of course a giant glass roof. It's got the old school Aston Martin stop-start button up here, along with the park reverse neutral drive. The button's up there, that sucks. So after the update, they went to a start-stop button down here and a little nub to go from park into drive, etc. The only thing I don't like in here is this plasticky turn signal stock. It's just, everything else is so well put together and feels so good, even after 40,000 kilometers here. But the turn signal's just this little cheap kind of off-the-shelf product. It doesn't take me out of the experience, but it's something I noticed. So much like the engine borrowed from Mercedes, it's paired with a Mercedes 9-speed automatic. However, versus the base DBX, it's got a multi-plate clutch to take up the torque off the line instead of a torque converter. With the exception of a couple moments where there have been a few awkward 2-to-1 downshifts when I've had it in auto mode, it's been flawless. And if you put it in manual mode here, it is so responsive. It is so close to being dual clutch quick. I'm trying to find things I don't like about the DBX, but it's proving to be incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. Stupid. No one needs an SUV this quick. No one needs this. But that's the point. But isn't that the point? All right, launch control. Foot on the brake, Sport Plus, traction control off. I'm at the gas and let's go. Holy. Car and Driver tested the DBX 707, 0 to 60, 3.1 seconds. That's as quick, just about as quick, about a tenth off of the non-plug-in hybrid Urus Performante, and just as quick as the new SE Performante, speaking volumes to the added weight and the quote-unquote handicap that is, the uphill battle that they're chasing. Sure, hybrid systems are great for punching your spine with torque around town, but with all of the effort here to make this handle and feel like anything but an SUV, more power and weight is the opposite of what the DBX needs. Novelty is what it needs, and it's halfway there. And here I am thinking, hasn't the Purosangue from Ferrari kind of already won this game, won this category of vehicle? A massive naturally aspirated V12? To me, even without having driven one, as a format on paper, that has already won. So the DBX is kind of in the strange middle ground. Do we all just kind of want a wagon instead? I think so. I'm gonna speak for myself on that one, but let me know in the comments if you agree. To me, it's like, guys, if this was a wagon, lower that center of gravity like they're trying to do with the S. That one has a carbon fiber roof. All these little things that seem a little ridiculous could be solved just by making it a wagon instead, but this will have to do for now. Let me know what you guys think. This was such a good drive. Thank you, Shin, for the seat time. I really appreciate it. On that note, you guys, I did just launch with my friend Elvis a podcast, and it's called Seat Time. The links are in the description. It's on Spotify. It's on all the platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. We'll see you next time.